In the Ghanaian society where I grew up, traveling abroad was believed to be the surest means of an efficacious life. The sound of an airplane was an emblem of hope. The utmost dream of every spirited youth was to live in a foreign country where apples don't rot, and of course, human beings don't die. Everyone was sort of looking for a harmless anchorage to keep their vessel. Everybody wanted a better life. Tell them to go to school, go learn a trade, or go get a job, and they'll brand you as an enemy of progress. But they will haul thousands of dollars to pay for visa fees, purchase plane tickets, and book a 5-star hotel abroad than to use that money to pay for their textbooks, pay school bills, or maybe school uniforms. They cherish pilots more than teachers, flying more than sitting in a classroom determining the atomic number of a scientific element discovered by some dead and gone scientists. We were all fed up hearing about snow falling in some countries whilst we were wearing A.J. Gatsby hats and a cowboy hat to cover our balding heads. My dream as a young boy was also to travel abroad. But I realized that in order to be able to go international, in order to be able to go global, you must start local. And that is why I discovered my talent, writing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Richard Paa Kofi Botchwey. I am a writer, a poet, an author, the CEO of Orphan Trust Movement. Today, I'm here to share a little bit of my story with you to help you overcome the challenges you're going through so that one day you can also achieve your dreams in life. So let's go. There are approximately 163 million orphans in the world. 18.2 million of these orphans have no parental care at all. The emotional pains that orphans go through leave 10 to 15% committing suicide before they are 18. Those who are fortunate go beyond this age. Research shows that 60% of the girls turn prostitute, and 70% of the boys become hardened criminals. I didn't want to become a hardened criminal. I was tired of always, seeing rich kids on stage, mounting the stage, using their talent in order to, change the society, displaying their talent and all that. And I was always sitting backseat, as if I didn't matter. So, in order for me to be able to do something, also change my community, I decided to tell my story in whichever capacity. And that was to put my story together. And that is The Tale of an Orphan, A Lesson to Learn. Now, let me quickly tell you, it wasn't easy. When I started writing this book, I had no idea of how to edit a book. It was really tough. But I didn't give up on myself. I remember that night when I was writing the introduction, it was really tough. I was really crying. Because in our society, when you happen to be an orphan, and I'm speaking from experience, people think that you are useless. Me losing my parents, I lost my father when I was 5. And at the age of 7, I lost my mother. So virtually I became an orphan at the age of 7. But that didn't stop me. So I started putting my story together. And after putting the stories together, the next thing was to get a publishing company to publish my book. And those of you who are into writing, you know how difficult it is to get a publishing company. By then, I was a cafe attendant. Before then, I used to go to an internet cafe. I had no money to pay for, to buy any time to browse. So I came up with an idea. And my idea was that I was going to sweep the internet cafe and make sure I get there early in the morning, sweep the place so that the owner can give me some time. And it worked. I was getting 30 minutes And I was using that 30 minutes to type my stories, to go on Facebook, to search and all that. So one morning, I was browsing and I came across a name, Emmanuel Young. I sent him a message. I went through his profile, sent him a message, told him, hey, brother, I am an author. I have a book entitled blah, 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 blah. I didn't get a reply from him. A few days later, he accepted my friend request. And then I told him that, hey, this is the book that I've been telling you about. Fortunately, he had also released his book. So I told him that, why don't you look at my book? And here is somebody who had no idea. He doesn't know me from anywhere. Long story short, this guy picked up my book and said, Richard, because of your book, I am going to start a company, E-magine Publishing Company. And today, I am the first Ghanaian author published by E-magine Publishing Company in the US. And I'm also signed on. Thank you. I'm also signed on to E-magine Publishing Company, a very long-term contract with them. Now, I want to draw your attention to something. That if you realize that, we all go through crisis in life, but you need to understand one thing. Acknowledge that you are in crisis, but do not accept your crisis. I knew that I'm an orphan, and it was so clear. But I didn't accept the fact that I'm useless. I'm not useless. I'm very important to society. Now, this is one of the quotes that really changed my life. I was tired of, like I said before, I was tired of sitting in the audience. Not the audience per se, but we are all performers on this earth. Right? We are all performers on this earth. You were born to perform. You were not born to sit in the audience, to watch others, cheer others on. I'm not saying don't cheer me on or don't cheer others on, but you were not just born to, sit out there, always, hey, that guy is doing it. You were born to perform. So as I'm standing here, I'm performing. As you are seated now, you are performing because you are living your purpose. So I realized that in order to be able to, defend the odds, you need to acknowledge your crisis, but don't accept it. And don't sit at the back, in there and think that, yes, you cannot do it. I hope you are getting there. So, this picture is, so after publishing my book, The Tale of an Orphan, I was there somewhere in 2013. I was really broke because, I thought that after publishing my book, I should get some money, but it wasn't like that. The journey of a writer. So somewhere September to November, I got this revelation that I should tell my publisher to, contact TBN. And he sent an email to TBN, and they said, and weeks later, we got a call that TBN wanted to interview me in London, in the UK. Applied for my visa, and God being so good, I was approved. And this was my first international interview on TBN Europe. Now, here was a boy that nobody ever thought was ever going to do something great, but now rocking shoulders internationally. Can you go to the next one? The ladder. Now, I want you to understand something, that there's a ladder in every human being. There's a ladder in you seated here. But sometimes, because you are so focused on the ladder somebody has, and by ladder, I mean the encouragement, the push, the money, the position your uncles, your aunties, your friends, your father has. You're waiting for them to use that to help you. They're not helping you. And you are what? That is boiling up bad blood in you. You're so upset that your uncle is so rich and he's not what? Using that to help you. Tell you what, I was in the same situation. But I came to a realization that nobody owes me anything. Do you know that? Nobody owes you anything. The university that you went, your lectures don't owe you any ace. They don't owe you anything. Your parent brought you into the world for a reason, but they don't owe you anything. You owe yourself everything. And that was when I discovered that I don't have to sit down. And this is another lesson which I've learned. You know, I lived in the village for a very long time. And I study chickens. Can call them fowls or whatever. Now, when you study chickens, domestic fowls, we don't feed them. We allow them to search for their own food. So one time I was just studying one, and it was just searching the surface of the air, so strong. And I realized that no matter how tough it was for it, it was still pressing on. It was still scratching the surface of the earth. And that was when I learned the lesson, that a chicken does not stop scratching just because worms are scarce. You don't give up just because somebody says you can't do it. You don't give up because people are rejecting you. You don't have to give up. I remember before I even got my publisher, I had sent out 200 book proposals to publishers in the US, in the UK, and all that. I had 91 rejection letters. Yes, I could have given up, but I know one thing, that you don't have to give up. Can we go to the next? Now, this is one of the quotes that holds my life. Even in ashes, there is hope. You see, when all seems lost, all is not lost. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? When the people that you are waiting on, when your father fails to support you, when you lose your parent, it doesn't mean that is the end of the world. The fact that I have lost my parent, it doesn't mean that is the end of me. It doesn't mean that I've lost my world. Today, if I hadn't taken that risk to tell my story, I wouldn't be here. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Yeah, so my encouragement is that do not just look at your situation. Look to the future. What are you doing right now about where you are going? Everyone in this room is going somewhere. But the question is, what are you doing to get to where you are going? Now, this is something that I really want to hammer on, and I want everyone in this room to get this. Do not go around preaching your disadvantages, something I never knew. Now, one of the things I've realized is that when you go around preaching your disadvantages, telling everyone that you don't have a degree, telling everyone that you are an orphan, telling everyone that your parents are poor, that you are homeless, you know what happens? People buy you cheap. People use you anyhow. And that is what happened to me. Yes, it told that, yes, Richard is an orphan. So I went somewhere to work. I ironed 4 baskets of washed clothes. And then I was just paid 40 Ghana cedis. I did that several times. Not only that, there are several instances. People invite me. Oh, Richard, come and share your story. I go there. They tell me, we'll pay you. Even to the point whereby I fly outside the country, travel abroad, go there and they tell you, oh, we will pay you. I go there, nothing. And then I lose. So I learned one thing, that in order to protect yourself, don't go around preaching your disadvantages. Don't tell everyone. Maybe one of your eyes are not working. You don't have to go around telling everyone, because the moment is that people always use your disadvantages against you, like they did to me. So that's with me and my publisher, Emmanuel Young. And I was also, last year, I was selected as one of the Ghanaian writers to be in Italy for the 100,000 Poet for Change. And this is to prove to you that it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter who you are, you can make it. That even in ashes, there is hope. Now let's go to the next one. So the question is, how do you contribute as a writer, as a creative person? How do you defy the odds in achieving your dream? I have 3 strategies, and that is what I'm going to share with you. The first one is that I call them the 3Ds. The first one is discover. Discover your talent. And when you discover your talent, discover a problem in where you are. Now, the second thing is to decide. Decide on solution. Decide on how best you can use your talent to solve that problem. Now, let me just quickly explain that. When I realized that, yes, I discovered that I have the gift to write, I decided that I was going to write a book. So you get it, right? And the third thing is deliver. After writing the book, I didn't just sit there. I made sure that I released the book, delivered the book. So these three things are going to help you in order to also, defer whichever challenges that you're going through. I believe in one thing, as I always say, that people like you win. When all seems lost, all is not lost. Don't give up on yourself. It doesn't matter how many times people have told you that you can do it. Use the ladder in you. Stop focusing on people. All right? Stop focusing on the leaders. Because trust me, no matter how many times we send messages on Facebook or social media, whatsoever, talk about the fact that our leaders are not doing what they ought to do, it is up to us to make a decision that I'm going to affect change right where I am. And that is why I decided to tell my stories. I want to encourage you all that don't give up on your dreams and know that even in ashes, there is hope. Thank you.